We have one more presentation this afternoon and two this evening. Our presentation now is Elena Dramchini, and you know what you're going to be talking about, and I don't. So why don't you just come up here and bring us into the astrology of discipleship or something of that nature. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. We're good. Thank you. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Hold on, hold on. We're in a tangle. Okay. Oh my. Is there any third ray around here? Whenever there are knots and tangles, you know. Okay. Proceed.
Hello, everybody. Are you still awake and ready to concentrate for another talk?
Absolutely, Elena.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I thought that as they're going to be a 7-ray seminar, that I will say something along the line how the focus of the soul and personality rays in the lower bodies of the personality are affecting the process of the alignment and integration, which is very much a related process because we're talking about the integration of the personality reaching its peak at the third initiation, and also of the alignment between the soul, mind, brain, which is going more or less parallel process and reaching also its peak at the third initiation. Now, my research is going on through the charts of the disciples and the instruction which are in DINA-I and DINA-II, where those of you who are not familiar with this, that the rays for those disciples were given by Master DK, so they are 100% accurate. And we have some accurate charts for these disciples, which we have, come across through various sources, and they filled up questionnaires when they had to join the Master DK group. And they had to answer questions, and among them was, what do you think are your race, and given the date of birth, the time of birth, and some of their background. There are some of the charts on the Makara, so any of you who are interested to have a look at it, you can do so. Okay, I'm not going to present anything here because the concentration is rather intensive for that process. And so I have done some, through my research, I have done some notes which I want to present to you, because it's important for each of us to know where actually our soul ray is focused, in which of the bodies, either the mental, astral, or the physical. And when we're talking about the ray of physical body, we're talking about the brain. And that is the very important point in the alignment between the soul, mind, brain. Nothing can manifest from out there without the brain. So the brain is a very important factor. Okay? And obviously the body, which stands alone, it means if the soul ray is focusing through the astral body, and the personality ray through the brain, we have a mental body which is standing alone. And that is also a significant factor in the alignment or the integration process. And I have to tell you, there is not a technique which applies to every individual. It is very, how would I say, with each individual, it's a different approach to the alignment of the energies relative to the stage of the path of the person, state of consciousness. So the energies focus, how they are aligned, even through the astrological chart, is unique to each of us. Unique. And as DK say, we need to know at least the soul or personality ray prior to looking at the chart. And we work the astrological energies around these rays. Even though, having said that, those of us astrologers, we tend to search, for these rays in the chart, and there are many of them obvious. The problem is that we have a number of various factors which complicate the search, what are our rays? And one of these factors is the legacy ray, for example, which is an overriding influence in our life. And that might not be present, and usually is not present, on our ray makeup. So if we have first ray personality estimation in our life, we might be coming from a past life influence of a very powerful second ray personality, which is going to override even the first ray in this life. And we feel, we could have, let's say, second ray personality. And this is evident particularly at very early stages of our life. And this is also dependent upon the degree of the integration of our personality, where we are in that process. Because the personality ray become evident only when the integration is really reaching its power. Otherwise, we can mix up the personality ray with the mind ray. And this is another problem. Why? Because the ray of the mental body, you see, the mind is the highest aspect of the personality, which is also the integrating principle of the personality. And somebody who really feels the mental ray, we are talking of relatively high point of evolution. Okay? So we can mix up this energy with the personality ray, the mental ray and the personality ray. Many of the disciples mix this up in the application form, where they thought, that was my personality ray, it happened to be the mental ray. Okay? And sometimes of the legacy ray. Yes?
The with the legacy ray, Elena.
Yeah.
Why would you? We'll put it this way: is it an assumption that you're making that the legacy ray is going to be the dominating ray?
No,
It's
DK say that.
it's based on a quote. What quote is that exactly?
Well, I can't tell you. There is. I can't tell you. You know
Yeah.
where it is.
Okay.
But this is not coming from me.
No, I'm just trying
It
to
is
think
a
where it might be.
It is. The Michael maybe.
DHB.
I mean, I've got this in my notes. Yes.
It's not always.
Hmm.
It's sometimes the case that it's dominating, but it's always influential.
Okay.
Always
Yeah.
influential. There was one point, both men had the rays 2-1, 2-1, 3. The previous one had a 4th ray personality in the last life, and the other one had a 7th ray personality in the last life. And that made all the difference in how
That's
they
correct.
manifested in this life. The
Yes.
rays were the
That
same.
was the only
Yeah.
difference. The legacy ray.
Wow.
That just went over my head, how the seventh ray would be the
It
manifestation.
had momentum from the past.
But how would that manifest then as a second ray in this?
No,
life?
no, no, no,
Two
no,
to one?
no, no, no.
I
It
mean-
just affected the man presently in terms of the 7th ray, that's all. And the 4th ray came through from the past as the 4th ray.
I see.
And it was influential and discriminated between their methods of expression. Yeah.
Now I'm going to say something very important now, which is in DINA-I, page 192, where DK says there is a difference between coordination or integration and alignment. Now, technically, this is what we need to take notice of. Because many times when he speaks about coordination, he is talking about the integration of the lower vehicles. And when he speaks about alignment, he is talking about alignment soul, mind, brain. But we must be very careful because the so-called apparent contradictions, or that he is mixing these terminologies, we have to be very careful in which context he is using them. Okay? So, yes,
Did I misunderstand you earlier when you said there was you have to identify astral or mental polarization, but you also included physical polarization as an option before the mental ray appears?
I was making maybe just example.
You think that's a possibility? That there's just a purely physical polarization before the mental?
No, that was
ray?
just an example.
Oh,
This is not like a statement that if of a specific case,
right.
okay?
Mhm.
I was trying to find out by that example that if we have a body where is no focus of any of the ray, okay? That's all. So the best source for this investigation of the polarization of these soul and personality rays in the three lower bodies are really the study of the disciples, okay? Where we learn, for instance, that the odd line or hard line rays, 1, 3, 5, 7, of the soul and personality don't always find the point of least resistance in the odd line rays in the physical body. It means that not always the first ray soul is going to be focused in the first ray mental or the seven ray physical, because that is the line of least resistance. Okay? Or we learn that the soul and personality ray can be focused in a particular body which is not the right contributory factor towards the achievement of a particular integration or alignment in the present incarnation. And the disciple should work towards the changing of the focus of that soul and personality ray into that body which is more needed force focus. You understood this? It means that you have your soul ray, let's say first ray soul, focused in the seven ray brain. But this might not be for you the right focus in this incarnation, because the first ray soul would be better to be focused in your, let's say, in your third ray mind. Okay? Because that influence is needed for you to achieve a certain alignment. And there is tendency for the soul ray working on the alignment, soul, mind, brain, and the personality ray focus on the integration of the three lower bodies. Okay? To what? Sorry. I don't want to make mistakes because, you know, this is very important. To what degree this alignment or integration process is utilized by each of us in the present incarnation, it's entirely dependent upon which stage of the path we happen to be and the level of development of our consciousness. And that's why there is not the same formula following or the same speed of the alignment or integration process, because it's entirely dependent upon our own effort and where we are. Are we consciously working with it or unconsciously? And so this is automatically reflected through the system, through the chakra system, obviously, because everything is interlinked, and our astrology. Everything is reflected through the levels. So it appears that when DK says that there is a straight and direct contact between, for example, soul and brain, it indicates the focus of the soul ray in the physical body or brain. Is that clear? Some of it I already said, that's why I'm going through.
Elena, but it wouldn't necessarily be the same ray. You're saying that it was the focus of the soul ray and the brain, but because of the experiences needed by the jiva, that it may be a different ray, brain, mental ray. Is that what you're saying?
answered his own question. Okay. Yes.
Soul and the physical rays would be on the same line.
No, I'm
1, 3,
not.
5, 7, okay.
I'm not. They can be first ray, they can be second ray in a 7-ray brain.
And they can still be fully aligned.
Well, there is a process of alignment which I am going through it. This alignment does not necessarily follow in a particular order. The higher can come first and the lower can come second.
Yes.
And this complicates another, okay?
With when you talk about legacy ray, do you see it as standing by itself as a ray, a separate ray from your other part of your ray structure?
Yes.
You do, because there's one quote here about how the legacy of a first-rate personality in a previous life for DIJ was in the astral body of that, as opposed to being separate. The legacy was in the astral body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I misunderstood what you're asking me.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, as you say correctly, that the disciple could have had that ray on one of the bodies, okay?
So it can be both, maybe.
It can be both ways.
Because I've always thought of the legacy ray as being not
Yes.
not in your ray makeup, but certainly a residual influence.
Yeah, but I saw you asking me how predominating that influence is,
Yes,
okay? But you are correct in saying, obviously, with various disciples, that the legacy ray was influencing a particular body, either mental, astral, even the brain, okay?
Okay.
So as I was saying, that there are stages of the alignment process where we have, and this can happen, all three of these alignments between soul-mind, mind-brain, soul-brain are not going in particular order, but they can happen in one life. It doesn't mean that the disciple is going to reach the complete alignment, because that is a process of 3 initiations. So that's why there is not a rule which applies to everybody, but is very individual. And this alignment process is speeded up if the disciple is in preparation for a particular initiation in that particular life. Then this process becomes a critical, because the disciple has to work consciously either on various of these alignment or one particular one which he needs to develop a particular quality which is reflected in the 3 capital words, capital letters in the disciples of the qualities like detachment, right? You know, we are trying each of us to develop our own 3 qualities which we need to develop, okay? So everything had its relationship. This is reflected in an example which some of the disciples, 1 or 2 of them actually, who were preparing for the 3rd initiation, but were working on the transference of energies from the sacral to the throat, which is an elementary alignment being dealt with the 1st degree. You follow? Which we would not expect. So the disciple had to go over some elementary issues in order to approach, for example, in this case, the third initiation. And the same can happen also with the alignment between the, as I say, mind-brain, soul-brain, soul-mind. And he say that the higher not necessarily include the lower. Also, we have a lives where we spend in one extreme direction of race, either hardline race or the soft line, which means 1357 or the 246. And what happens if we spend few lives in one direction or the other? There is imbalance reached, okay? So many of the disciples had lives of balance of these extremes, okay? The mystical is, oriented towards the more astral Buddhic line, let's say, the occult, mental, it's more of the 1357 lines, which, can result in isolation, separation, these energies, the hard line rays. And the other line is becoming too inclusive, too emotional, too mystical, too devotional, but we need to balance these. Like we have to eventually, bring into one the mystical and occult life and live it simultaneously. This is very much related to the different assignment of the rays on a particular bodies. We do know, for example, that the astral body is usually conditioned by the sixth ray or second ray. But at certain stage of the path, the astral body is necessary for that disciple to be on a first ray, which is very, we say, it's very rare occurrence. And that is contributory factor to the balancing process of the energies. As with everything, there is always exception to every rule. And that's complicate our work, okay? Where we expect something, we don't find it. But we have to see it. It's an exception. Okay? Like when DK accepted a disciple who has not even passed the first degree, that is the exception to the rule. As a general rule, what I'm finding, that the brain responds easier to the mind if both the physical and mental body are on the line 1, 3, 5, 7. But with more difficulty to the soul upon the 2, 4, 6 line. As a general rule, but there are exceptions. And there is always reason for those exceptions. when the force is directed by the mind and coming from the mind through the physical body, which is the brain in reality, it indicates a rapidly integrated personality. And here we would find more mental than aspirational focus. You see the difference in the rays again. Aspirational rays are usually 2, 4, 6 line. The mental ray, because we're going to occult, are 1, 3, 5, 7. Now, just to give you example, with one of the disciples here, we have a ICGL, a disciple who was transferring from the 6th ray soul to the 2nd in that incarnation, had a 1st ray personality, 1st ray mind, 6th ray astral, and 1st ray brain, or physical body. So we have a very unusual, a very difficult combination of rays. We have 3 first rays: mind, personality, and a physical body or the brain. And we have a sun in Gemini with 1st ray personality, right? Moon Mercury in Taurus, Venus in Aries. We have no time to go into great details because it's very demanding and time-consuming process. So I'm giving only certain examples of some of these ray alignments. When the 1st and 2nd ray are closely related, I'm talking now about this particular disciple who was transferring the 6th ray soul to the 2nd ray and had a powerful 1st ray. It is an easy matter for the 2nd ray soul to control and illumine the 1st ray mind. Now, this disciple, who overestimated himself, thinking he's taking the 4th initiation, was supposed to take the 2nd initiation in that life, and he failed to do so. Such a glamour. As I say, my impression is that when there is a changing of the ray, Michael, maybe you can follow this, what I'm just going to say. When there is an incarnation, when the rays of attributes, which are the 4, 5, 6, 7, are changing to the rays of aspects, which is 1, 2, 3, and we always go to this process through the 3rd ray, which is always the integrating influence on the lower and higher levels. It usually happens around the 2nd initiation. Either, I would say, it has to be an accepted disciple, and the accepted disciple starts to emerge after the middle point between the 1st and 2nd initiation. Okay? When we're talking about a pledged disciple, it's different It's the pledged disciple is before this middle point, but the pledged accepted disciple is after. Okay. What I want to say about this disciple is also that when he came into incarnation, the emphasis was on his sixth ray soul. He was living that energy more than the second ray to which he was transferring. Okay? So the sixth ray soul was in his astral body because there was the line of least resistance. Okay? Because he had a sixth ray astral body. Sixth ray soul in a sixth ray astral body. That's the line of least resistance. Okay? But with increasing power of the second ray soul emerging, the line of the least resistant, he was told, should be the first ray mind. So we see, second ray soul should be going through the first ray mind, not the line of least resistance, because the power of the second ray had to be the dominating influence now through the mind, and this is telling us that he is working on the soul-mind alignment. Because the soul ray, it's always involved with the alignment and the personality with integration. But there is sometimes exception, as I said. So the increased illumination of the mind should be the necessary factor for the second ray soul. Yes.
DK was planning to make sixth ray astral life absolutely intolerable, so that it would be rejected in favor of the second.
Are you referring now to yourself, dear?
No.
No. Okay, no, no. My answer would be no.
Really? Okay.
No.
Very good.
Right. Well, you see, even to get through what I have here would take another 2 hours. There are apparent contradiction in references depending from what level sometimes he's talking about. What I am concerned here is a specific factor.
Elena, can I throw something in which may be of use?
Yes?
Can you give me a little sound? Gently. Got me? Hello? Oh, all right, good. Look at this, and this relates. I believe this relates.
Yes.
And it's probably a quote that you would be using and have used. This is in White Magic from 112 to 113. A man polarized in his astral body. Well, what do you really mean, he says? You really mean a man whose ego works principally through that vehicle, okay? Mm-hmm. Polarity indicates the clarity of the channel. Let me illustrate. The ego of the average man has its home on the third subplane of the mental plane, okay? If a man has an astral vehicle largely composed of third subplane matter, and a mental vehicle mostly on the fifth subplane. The ego will center his endeavor on the astral body because it has a
Now,
higher subplane.
you know, this is one of those references you have to pick up to complicate the matter.
Sorry.
Which,
Go ahead.
yes, I know of the reference, of course. And if I ask the astrologers in this room, each of them have interpreted maybe this reference in different way. Because it's one of those references which is, we understand according how we understand it.
All I wanted to say about it is it is independent of the ray line.
Yes, yes.
Which is what you were saying?
Yes,
and
because-
gives a justification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. The more question, the less time I have more to say. But please do.
So Elena, since you've done this research and you,
I am in a process of it.
okay, with whatever research you have done, there obviously are all kinds of things that you've concluded from that. What can we take away from that we can apply to ourselves, knowing that there are all these exceptions and all these different variables? What can we glean from that?
That's very, how can I answer that question with one simple answer? Each of us is somewhere else. It's working with something different. There is no rule which I say, this is what I would suggest each of you read the DINA books. Read, yes, that's the best learning process, and which I am proven by my example how much I have got out of it and how much I have learned through the process. Why? Because we're having a race given by the master. We have the astrology, not with all of them, but with some of them. And this we can apply to our own life. But in order for us to work personally with this information, we need to at least hypothetically, within margin of minimal error, to find out where we stand in the path. Otherwise, we make terrible mistakes. Okay? And that's why this is a fundamental issue. To know on what process within myself I am working. And, I wanted to give you one example that, when we're asking how to align or integrate various levels, what, things which we would never think about, which we need to do, is simply to go to school and study. And just a moment. Now, what I have done, something stopped moving in my computer. This seemed to be the problem here today.
Yeah.
Why I can't scroll down? Maria?
Maria.
Michael, solve it. Thank you. Oh my God, what are informations and informations. It's a shame I can't share this with you all. Fifth Ray Mental, we are on a Fifth Ray conference. Fifth Ray Mental can give interest in astrology. One disciple who had Fifth Ray mind keen mind and untiring search for truth, fifth ray mind. And to achieve clarity is the ray of lucidity, precision, truth on many matters. But fifth ray is a crystallizing factor, and in combination with the first ray, it could result in dogmatic and separativeness, dogmatism and separativeness, and need to be offset by the second ray soul. This is extraction from one disciple who had a fifth ray mind and second ray soul. Okay? Now, what I am really trying to tell you, I am trying to find it. Because that is some very good example what we need to really do in order to work with the integrative process. Come on. Sorry about this, but you know, I don't have much time, so at least, you know, I would say this. I hope I have it. Some, for example, a disciple, SSP. Keywords: serenity, simplicity, poise. The most important quality which he needed to work was simplicity. The race, second ray soul, fifth ray mind, fourth ray mental body, sixth ray astral, and third ray physical. He was told, weak place in the alignment was due to a lack of steady contact between the mind, which was the fourth ray, and astral body, which was the sixth ray. So we have an integrative two bodies process here, the mind and astral body, which were on the 246 line, okay? So I am paraphrasing a little bit here, but when a person is mentally alert, temporary coordination, you see the word coordination? What did I say it means? Integration. We're dealing the integration with the bodies here. Temporary coordination is set up between the three lower bodies. Follow this very, very carefully, because this is a very good example I want to give here. And there is a momentary alignment between the mind and brain. But the moment the mental activity stops, there is a complete break in the alignment. And the person functions as an emotionally astral body, vital etheric body, and active, dense physical person, with the mind, mental body, remaining outside of the lower alignment. So we can reach temporary integration, but the moment the mind stops working, there is a complete break in the integration. Okay? And we start to work with it. And astrologically, there was a T-square in relation to this between Mercury, Mars, and Neptune. Okay? This particular disciple could work, he was told, he could work as a psychological healer, astrologically seen, Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, psychology, the race, psychological work, and Mars in the 8th house, all Scorpio, powerful Scorpio for a psychological healer. But his knowledge of modern psychology, academic, is very weak. So he needs to read and think along academic lines in order to work with this integrative process of the 3 lower bodies where the mind is dropping out continuously and breaking the process. And how to mend this process? Go to school. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. We're going to have just a 2-minute reflection and closing of our afternoon's activities. And then we will begin at 7:30. Let's see, Peter, what is your subject?
Mars, Neptune, and its ability to aid the activities and purpose of Venus.
Of Venus. Mars and Neptune aiding the activities of Venus?
Yes.
Yes? And Niklas, what is your subject?
Well, you may just try to head up the mountain and swirl around the Pleiades a little bit.
A Pleiadic swirl and initiation tonight. That's 7:30 tonight. So that's still more than 2 hours away. Yeah. Peter will be on first, and then Niklas will be speaking from 8:15 until midnight.
I'm going to say that.
Okay, everybody, a little alignment, please. No, the brain's out of it. Attempting to bring together a number of our subjects today so that they aspect each other. The idea of Venus as the representative of the solar angel, the spiritual importance of Venus in your chart, the indications of the quintile based upon the number 5, and thus related again to the mind and ideally to the higher mind. The examination of the many steps to be taken, as DK has laid them out, to approach a chart in a correct and thorough manner, and applying some of these principles to the initiatory life of Krishnamurti. The fascinating hunt for Vulcan, the planet soon to be discovered because the spiritual will of humanity is emerging. And the importance of Vulcan in our own charts as an indicator of the placement and power of spiritual will, which we all need on the path of discipleship. And then the very important technical matter of the precise vehicle through which your soul and personality are focused in this incarnation. There will be one vehicle providing major expression for the personality and one vehicle providing major expression for the soul. This is all part of the integration, coordination, and alignment process leading to soul infusion. With this information, we are in a much better position to express the higher ego in our life and to align with the solar angel. All of these things are interrelated, and it's important that we bring them meaningfully together in our illumined minds. We will continue this process. It is on the fifth ray. It does require strong concentration, which we can all give if we will to do so. And we will close this afternoon's activities with the mantra of the new group of world servers, may the power of the one life. May the power of the one life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you. Thank you astrologers and those who are in concentrated attendance. And I'll tell you what, if you come back tonight with a smile on your face, I will give you your homework. So y'all come back now. See you at 7:30.
Michael?
Yes.